Oh, well, I'm gonna use my...
Alright guys, you ready to...
Trombone?
Ready to do the video?
John Cena!
Guys.
Oh, no!
Guys.
Go away.
Hey, we gotta do a video. Why are you playing with toys? No, don't. Alright, I'm done. I'm done. I'm leaving. I'm out.
I am a god!
Perfect.
Squad!
What time? Hey everyone, we are the Samurai Reviews. We are your hosts. My name is Josh. We have Brett and then Jonathan. This review was brought to you by Kazuya Cam Production.
And Seafood Magic. Roll the dice and get that spice.
Today we are going to review Toy Story 4. If this is your first time watching, we'd like to start things off with our rating, then our non-spoiler part of the review, following a spoiler part of the review, ending with my favorite part, some IMDb reviews.
And remember, if you want to support us, go subscribe, like, comment, whatever you need to do so we can continue to bring these awesome videos.
Share it with your friends, everything. Feel free to comment below any suggestions, any recommendations. We always will engage with you guys. We'll respond pretty quickly, anything like that. So yeah, please hit us up. Tell us what you like, what you don't like.
We will leave timestamps in the description below so you can always skip around between the non-spoilers, spoilers, and some IMDb review. With further ado, we're going to get into our rating and what we rated Toy Story 4. So let's start it off with Jonathan.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're going to go with
Changing it
Jonathan.
up?
Yeah, Jonathan's going to go first this time.
Wow.
Like,
What?
Okay. Where am I? What are we doing? Alright.
Just say your rating.
Toy Story 4. I'm gonna rate this an 8. I definitely really enjoyed the story. I liked all the characters. I actually liked it more than the original by a little bit. But yeah, an 8 for me.
I'm gonna give this an 8.5. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I was smiling the entire way through this movie. I think I smiled for about 90% of it. And that's kind of rare. So I really liked it. Really fulfilling movie, really creative. 8.5, even though it was a fourth in the series, still was creative as hell. So
Great movie. I also will rank it an 8.5. That comes out to a Samurai review of an 8.3.
So like I was saying, I really enjoyed all the characters, seeing them again, and some of the new ones that were added on. The Key and Peele did an amazing job with the voice acting in here and everything. And Bo was probably my favorite character in the whole show. I really liked her. I thought she did a great job. But the lighting, the story, the drama that was in there, and the character development were all great. So yeah, definitely go see it. Obviously, family-friendly movie. And if you enjoyed the first 3, you should enjoy this one even more than that. So
it's very family friendly, and then it'll scare the so the movie is very suspenseful as well as like emotionally involved.
Oh yeah.
It's like it has some great messages. I mean, there's messages of, you know, being creative, being an individual. Really encourages that individuality of imagination. Really focuses on, you know, following your heart wherever it may lead you. Focuses on, you know, accepting change and accepting, you know, new life purposes, which is kind of what Woody follows in this movie. Buzz has it's a deep message and a hilarious moment where he's just following his inner voice this entire movie, and he's trying to find that consciousness for himself. You have, you know, the story of, you know, obviously Forky, Bonnie's new toy, and it's kind of about, you know, dissenting from the status quo and loving what you love no matter what society tells you, no matter what public opinion is on it. Then there's a new character, the kind of antagonist in this, Gabby. She's this kind of evil doll, and she has this, you know, really compelling story, which we'll get into more in the spoilers, where it's not just, you know, she's a creepy doll. Like, there's a lot more to it, a lot more depth to her character than I was really expecting. I think that was kind of the biggest surprise for me going into this movie. Yeah, all in all, this movie delivers on almost every front. It feels fully satisfying. I consider it a must-watch, especially with what's in theaters right now.
Toy Story, man, that is just how you should write a story. This is a story worth watching. Lots of great payoffs, great endings to a lot of the characters. Even the new characters that were introduced even had an amazing ending to them. Like, it wasn't just, the old characters from the first one. It was just the new ones that they even told too. And it was told in a very creative, emotional, relatable, just in a really, really good way.
Also, no lie, it's hella cute.
You even get not just cute moments, you get cool moments. Visuals were super amazing.
Yeah, the lighting and everything.
The lighting,
gorgeous.
camera work, just I don't even know. It's an animation, so camera work goes kind of far beyond than what real life action does. But this does great. Even from the third one, this is just amazing, stunning visuals.
What Jonathan said, they killed it with the lighting.
Yeah.
I've never seen lighting done better in any movie, animated or not. It's crazy. They definitely put a lot of work into making the environment as beautiful as possible, and it pays off in this movie.
And going back to what the characters kind of ended off what they needed instead of what they wanted. That's just basic 101 writing. Yeah. When you write a film, that's what you want to tell and kind of have a story for the audience. And that's why this story just does a way better job than what you would get from Godzilla or the Dark Phoenix, or even in Men in Black. There was a few. There was just
Men in Black.
Men in Black was good, but this just was way better.
Yeah.
I didn't think they had it, but they did.
I don't know about you guys, but I was going into this and I told them, I was like, I'm thinking this is going to be a 6. I don't think it could be lower than a 6, but I'm expecting a 6. And then I went and and as soon as it ended, I turned to them and I was like, dude, I really enjoyed that. Too much.
Transition to spoiler review.
Now we are going to spoilers. Spoilers.
I'll start us off. I really liked, like we said, the visuals. There was a part in this movie where I'm going to take it, but there was a cat. There's a cat part where the cats are chasing the toys around because that's what cats do.
Did they hire a real cat? It might have been.
Yeah, dude.
It looks so real.
I didn't think I was watching an animation movie with that. The lighting, like you said.
When they first sneak into this antique store.
Oh yeah.
It's they're kind of in the scaffolding, and you can see kind of cobwebs because it's a scaffolding, and I mean, it's just the way the light's coming through the windows and bouncing off the mirror, the reflections in the antique store, and it you could see kind of little dust, sparkling down, and it's such a simple scene. I'm just that's dope. One more scene that comes to mind if we're talking about lighting and visual effects is there's this one scene kind of Woody and Bo Peep share together when they are trying to get Forky out of this antique shop, and they go up and there's this whole section of chandeliers and it's kind of sparkling, and I'm just what the hell, man?
Yeah.
It's an antique store, a dusty antique store, and it's like the Grand Frickin' Canyon. It's beautiful. I'm what the heck? I could look at this all day. I could look at this for an hour and a half and be that's a great movie. And even the other parts.
When they're at the carnival, they're on top of the having where Buzz is all oh, you don't have to be Bonnie. Bonnie's gonna be okay without you. Just stay with Bo Peep kind of thing. They have a nice touching moment, and just in the back, you see the Ferris wheel lights and stuff, and that looks pretty. Everything in there looks pretty. The merry-go-round, the lighting there, kind of just where when the characters are talking to each other, or.
And then to go off that, the story that he's kind of referencing, where Buzz has a moment where he's she'll be all right. Bonnie will be all right, because he's kind of pulled between Bo Peep and Bonnie this whole movie, because he's shown this new life from Bo Peep after going after Forky, and but he's always been a child's toy, and he always has this sort of loyalty to that kid no matter what, and he's kind of finding a loyalty for himself in this movie. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier. It's following your heart, you know, no matter what other people tell you. It's no matter what you think, you know, accepting change, embracing change, and following what you believe in. And it's straight up, like, I teared up, I think, twice in this movie. And, like, one of them wasn't even, like, a main character moment. I was like, what is this, man?
I even think I pissed my pants because there was a few scary moments in there.
Yeah, there was liquid on both ends. But yeah, so that's kind of the story, like, at the beginning. Woody's not being played with, so he finds this new purpose in making sure that Forky is there for Bonnie, because she creates him in kindergarten, and so Forky loves trash
Because he was made from it,
yeah,
so he wants to go back to it.
Yeah,
and
and
he won't stop going back to
and
it.
it's pretty funny.
It's kind of, you get like Woody trying to babysit Forky for a bit, and he's like keeps throwing him onto
Yeah.
the freaking.
He keeps trying to run away.
Bonnie's trying to. He's like, she's like, wow, where's Forky? Where's Forky? And that Forky's like really important, you know, to Bonnie.
Mm-hmm.
Woody knows that, but Forky just wants to go into trash, and he's just
Forky, you're a toy. Trash?
And the thing with that I really liked, so going into this movie, the thing that I thought was kind of dumb is the fact that it was just this stupid little thing that she made that, like, you could just get a new one, was my thing going in. And so I loved, and that's what really sold me in the movie when they got to this point, but I loved how they made that a point. Like, I'm pretty sure at least 2 characters actually say, but it's just a spork with this, like, you can just make another one. And even, I think Sporky says it himself, too. Or
He says it at the end.
But I love how they reference that and just kind of was like, yes,
I mean,
but
and that's
there's
the
a
other
reasoning
kinda,
behind it. And I like that. So that was cool.
That's the other kind of story element there for Sporky and Bonnie, is that it's about creativity. It's about individuality, which is, you know, something I think a lot of movies may try to do, but none have done it as good as this movie did. And it really enforced the idea of, like, be yourself, be individual, you know? And like I said, other movies do it, but this one, like, really, they did it better. But yeah, that's kind of Sporky's whole, now you got me doing it. Forky's whole thing.
You understand, because it's a spork.
She's 5. She doesn't know what a spork is. What is this, KFC? But yeah, that's kind of his whole arc, and he's actually really funny the whole way through.
I love the balance in here between, like, with really good humor that's like kind of light and lighthearted and stuff, very connected with the kids, and then there's just this there's sometimes like this creepy dark thing, or it's just really heavy, like, sad moments with it, and the balance between that is great. A good example is when Woody meets Bo Peep for the first time, and the Sheeps are driving like this motorcycle.
The skunkmobile.
The skunkmobile, and like, you know, Bo Peep and Woody are having like this touching moment, and they're kind of like reconnecting for the first time, actually having a conversation. And then you get these 3 like soldier guys, and they're giving like high fives out, and then there's the third guy where he's all like, yeah, he like doesn't get the high five, and it's like great. And then
He never shows up again, but it was so funny.
and it goes to the part where there's Woody, and he's just all like, oh, I'm so sorry about that, Bo Peep, like, I didn't know you had to go through that, you know, kind of trauma. And she's like, oh, I don't really care. And there's actually like a real, you know, good emotional like scene with this humor that's in there. And I'm just like, that is so great. How
it's balanced perfectly.
I don't know. Yeah.
Then another main character, Buzz, we'll get into kind of his thing where I was talking about he follows his inner voice, and it's literally and figuratively that's what he's doing. He kind of like has a talk with Woody near the beginning, and he's asking Woody why he's taking this job so seriously of keeping Forky with Bonnie, and he's kind of like, it's just what my inner voice is telling me to do. And then he was like, who's telling you this? Do you know who it is? There's someone in here. And he's like looking around. He's basically Drax in this movie, and I love it. And so Woody's like, no, it's like your conscious inside. And he's like, inside. And he starts pressing his buttons for inner voice the whole movie, and it like works out, and it's hilarious. It's like, meteor shower, look up. And he looks up at one point, and like Woody hops over, and that's who he's looking for. And he's like, and then he follows.
Like, thank you, inner voice.
Yeah.
It gets to the part where like he only does it like once and it works out, but eventually he gets to the end where he's all like, no, this isn't the right one.
Yeah.
And then that's when he's like, starting
it's my
to
heart,
actually
you know?
get the inner voice, which is great.
It is.
Wow, how
He's like, "No, I wanna
better
help my
way to
friends."
tell you a story, you know?
That's kind of everyone's in this. That's kind of the meat of the story, I think, is, following what you want to do. What is your drive? What do you want? Go out and get it. Let's talk about Key and Peele's character, Bunny and Ducky. So,
Dude,
Ducky and Bunny.
Those Key and Peele characters, man. They're
They kind of hop along because they are mad at Buzz for taking their chance at getting taken off the wall by a kid.
They were so good. Great additions. A++.
And they have these crazy ideas of how to they're trying to get a key to get into this drawer or this cabinet where Borky is, and they're coming up with these plans, and they all involve them attacking the old lady that runs the place. And they're like, you're right. That's we need something more subtle. You're right. And they came up with this one. Yeah, they came up with this one. They literally go through the whole closing the store, following her home. She's taking a bath with a glass of wine.
And they're like, where are you leaving to?
She's like, don't interrupt me. But they finally get to the point where they scare her again. And it's the same thing. They have a nice little end of the movie end credit type moment where
instead of them wanting to have to be somebody's kid's toy, they end up helping other
kids
people
get toys.
Yeah. And I was like,
awesome.
That's great.
Woody, Bo Peep, Ducky and Bunny, and then Duke Kaboom, basically become these toy vigilantes, and they're
freeing all the toys
from the carnival games, and they're because the carnival games cheat, so they're cheating the carnival games and getting the kids the toys, and they clear the wall and everything, and it's very funny. Yeah. It's a really cool ending, and you're like, that's what's up. Yeah. So I mean, their part's small, but it's substantial still.
Yeah, it even helps the story kind of move along.
It's welcomed, and so basically we'll go into kind of the main arc of this entire story is kind of, so Forky obviously thinks he's trash and doesn't belong as a toy, and so he jumps out of the RV. You saw in the commercial, and Woody jumps after him. And then they get stuck in this antique shop because Woody sees Bo Peep's there, and that's kind of where Woody's heart starts to wander. And because of that, Forky gets stuck in this place basically the whole rest of the movie. Up until the end, and Woody eventually finds Bo Peep, and they kind of talk about him leaving, and him kind of not being a kid's toy, and just being a toy, helping multiple kids, not just one, and what he wants, where he wants to be. Yeah, they're kind of showing him there's another world outside of a kid's room.
They're kind of known as the lost toys.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't see that as a negative thing. At least most of them don't, especially Bo Peep and stuff. She likes kind of being free and being able to travel the world. But of course, Woody's so used to, being a child's
That's
toy.
all he knows.
That he doesn't really understand the whole lost thing. And he's there's that one scene that Josh was talking about where he'll be like, oh, that's awful. And she's like, oh, no, it's great. And he's like, oh, it's awfully awesome, or something like that. So
that's his main arc, and it's really well done. It's paced really well. You never feel like they're rushing it. You never feel like it's too slow. Now the one, and this kind of brings me into the part where where it lost that 1.5 points for me. There was a lot of, and by a lot I mean 4, maybe 5 times where these characters, where there'd be some main mission they're trying to carry out, and then a character would wander off and see something else. Now, what they saw and the story that unfolded afterwards was well worth it. It was just as emotionally fulfilling once they got there, but the way they did it every time was a character would wander off and see something, a character would wander off and see something. 2 times, off the top of my head I can think of, Forky and Woody are about to get out and reunite with Bonnie, and then Woody goes to the bag, and then Forky stops and he's like, oh, it's happening, and Gabby's having her moment where she might get a kid, and he kind of wandered off like that. And then a few minutes later, Gabby does it, where they're all trying to get back to Bonnie again, And then Gabby wanders off, and they're like running, and then Woody kind of stops. He's like, "What are you doing again?"
Even the main part where, again, Forky and Woody are trying to get back, and they're right there, and he sees the thing in the window.
Yeah, and then he sees Bo Peep. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It happened a lot.
That's 3. I don't know.
Like someone like seeing something and then stopping and going to look at it. It's not very unique. It was the same way, same manufactured kind of conflict every time. And I thought they could have done something way more creative with that. And that was my biggest, that was, that's basically all the 1.5. But I like what it led to was so emotionally fulfilling. It's okay. and what it happened before it was so emotionally fulfilling. It's okay. It happens a lot. It's kind of cheap, but like, again, the story is so great that like, the Woody one led to him having this moment with Bo Peep that really pushed his character to go experience new things and experience change. And then you had, Forky one where he's kind of, finally understanding like, oh, this is the importance a toy has to a kid or a kid has to a toy. And then for the Gabby one, this is actually one of the scenes I teared up at was, there's this lost kid and Gabby sees her, and after getting rejected, she's kind of like, I think this is my purpose. I think I need to go comfort that kid. Yeah. She's like lost. She needs someone. I want to be that someone. And she has this moment where she breaks out of her shell even after this like rough rejection. It was a rough rejection. Yeah. My mouth went wide when she gets rejected the first.
Oh, man, I loved her story. It was so relatable. So she has a defect and her like voice box doesn't work. And Woody kind of sacrifices his voice box. She has a great perspective on things where she doesn't feel whole. She thinks that being a perfect doll will lead to getting her a kid, and then she gets rejected.
Yeah. Especially because she was such a villain, and then that moment happened, and I felt bad for her all of a sudden, and I was just like, oh my god.
She felt like she just needed this, like, what all people, want, like,
if I just have this thing.
Yeah, if I had this one thing, I'd be happy or something. And then you have that thing and it doesn't pan out, or it's just a big slap to your face, and then
she had to break out of that shell right after, and that's tough. And she did it, and she did it for this kid, and this kid immediately was like, "You're lost too," and it was like, I was like, "Oh man." They get each other, man. They freaking get each other. This toy and this person, they're bonded, man. Damn it.
In the end, I was like, they did something right.
Yeah. Finally, a good movie.
All of our stressed up emotion from Godzilla or Dark Phoenix just kind of washed away after watching.
No,
Toy
I feel
Story
this.
4.
I feel fresh. I feel renewed.
Right? Yeah. So let's go on to the IMDb part of this review video.